In this video, we're going to look a little more deeply at components in SketchUp Pro 2021. We're going to make a slab and a component staircase that can be attached to it in multiple, and we'll look at how to edit components after they've been defined. First, I'm going to make a new from template architectural inches. I'm going to select this component and delete it. I'm going to draw using a rectangle tool, so shapes rectangle. I'm going to click at the origin, and now I'm going to type in two numbers. Let's say 10 feet, comma, 15 feet, enter. And that is going to define the second point. So it went 10 feet, 15 feet. I now have a rectangle defined. I'm going to click in the shaded area and drag it up and then type in 3 feet, enter. And what I've made now is a 10 by 15 by 3 foot volume. We'll call this our slab. And I'm going to define this as a component so that any other modeling I do does not automatically adjoin, kind of abut and adjoin this object. So I'm going to triple click, 1, 2, 3 clicks, selects the entire object, right click, make component. I'll call this slab. In my default tray, if I look in components and I look in model, I will now see slab as a component, meaning I could add and move and duplicate and have several of these slabs. I'm going to delete those because I only want one. The reason I made it a component was that anything else I model will not automatically become part of this slab once it's a component in the scene. I'm going to use my measuring tape to measure out where I want to abut a staircase. And the measuring tape tool works by clicking and offsetting. Let's do that. That's the center point. Creates these lines that are not the same as geometry lines. They're guidelines. I'm going to type in 3 feet this way. Click and drag 3 feet this way. And now I have a guideline for what I want to make. And I'm going to also take this line and go, say, 4 feet in this direction. And I'm going to use some snaps to draw from intersections to each of these lines. So that is the footprint of my staircase. I'm going to extrude that up 9 inches, so click and drag and then type in 9 inches. And I'm going to make a guideline from here and go in 12 inches and draw by snapping to that guideline and extrude up another 9 inches. I'm going to keep repeating this. 12 inches, 9 inches, there we go. Now, while this looks continuous with that slab, it is its own entity. Because of the component nature of the slab, this model is not being, not connecting to that slab. I'm going to select and delete my guidelines. I don't think I need these anymore in my scene. And let me make a new component out of this staircase. I'm going to triple click, right click, make component, let's call it stair. And now I can move this stair component. I could, let's say, add another stair component. I could rotate that second stair component 90 degrees, snap it from midpoint to midpoint, move this stair back from midpoint to midpoint. I could add yet one more stair. And what's important to realize is because these are 3 instances of the same component, stair, stair, and stair, and none of them have been exploded, they're still active components, any change I make to one of these will update for all of them. And that's very powerful if I want to make objects that repeat through a model. In order to edit this component, I'm going to right-click edit component, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of a nose to these stair treads. So I'm going to click and make some guidelines that come down 2 inches in this direction. So I'm using that same guide tool. I'm going to draw lines to give me something new, a new face, a new subdivision face to extrude. And I'll use push-pull to come out 1 inch, 1 inch. And in the background, you may be able to see my other components are now updating. Because these are shared components, they're updating. And if I simply click outside of this component that I'm editing, and notice it was drawn with a bounding box of sorts, this kind of dashed line. If I click out, I remove that feature. I'm no longer editing this component. These two components have updated. Any new versions of the stair that I pull out are going to be updated. If I wanted to edit this further, I could double click and I return into an edit component state or mode where I have this bounding box line. And if I click off, I get rid of that. I think what I want to do, let me go in and select, I want to get rid of these guidelines because they served their purpose. I don't need them to clutter my scene anymore. And in fact, I can select and delete the staircase. What I have now is a stair component that I could place anywhere I wanted in any number in my scene and update, and they would all, if one updates, they will all update together. So that's a little hint at how components are powerful for any object that I want to have multiples of, or any object that I want to be able to change instances of in the future downstream in my modeling process.